of fear. I stood stunned. My hair rose, the voice stuck in my throat. I am not a good naturalist, as they call it, and I hardly know by what springs fear acts in us. But at all events, it is a strange passion, and the doctors say that there is none which carries our judgment away sooner from its proper seat. In truth, I have known many people to become insane from fear, and even in the most stable it is certain that while the fit lasts it engenders terrible bewilderment. Leave aside the common herd, whom it causes to imagine now great-grandfathers issued from the tomb wrapped in their shrouds, now werewolves, goblins, and chimeras, but even among soldiers in whom it should have less room, how many times has it changed a flock of sheep into a squadron of armed men, reeds and rushes into men-at-arms and lancers, friend into foe, and the white cross into the red. When Monsieur de Bourbon took Rome, a standard-bearer on guard at the fort of San Pietro was seized with such a fright at the first alarm that he threw himself through a ruined part of the wall, standard in hand, out of the city right toward the enemy, thinking that he was heading toward the center of town, and only with great effort at the last moment seeing Monsieur de Bourbon's men, who thought this was a sortie made by those in the city, take their positions to resist him. He came to himself and, facing about, re-entered the city by that same breach from which he had come out, more than 300 paces into the open field. It did not turn out so fortunately for the ensign of Captain Julie when St. Paul was taken from us by the Count de Boris and Monsieur du Reu, for being so utterly lost from fright as to rush with his colors out of the town through an embrasure, he was cut to pieces by the assailants. At the same siege, memorable was the fear that so powerfully seized, constricted, and froze the heart of a gentleman that fell to the ground in the breach, stone dead of it, without a single wound. Similar fear sometimes seizes a whole multitude. In one of the encounters of Germanicus with the Germans, two large bodies of men, out of fright, took two opposite directions, the one fleeing from where the other was running from. Now fear gives wings to our heels, as in the above examples. Now it kneels down and fetters our feet. Thus we read that Emperor Theophilus, in a battle he lost against the Agarines, became so stunned and paralyzed that he could not make up his mind to flee. So much is fear afraid even of help, until Manuel, one of his principal leaders of his army, having tugged and shaken him as if to wake him from a deep sleep, said to him, "If you do not follow me, I will kill you, for it is better for you to lose your life than, by being taken prisoner, to lose your empire." Fear expresses its utmost power when, in its own service, it throws us back upon the courage that it has snatched away from our sense of duty and honor. The first pitched battle that the Romans lost against Hannibal under the consul Sempronius, a body of at least 10,000 infantrymen, having taken fright and seeing no other way out for their cowardice, threw themselves into the main body of the enemy, which by a marvelous effort they pierced, slaughtering a great many of the Carthaginians, and purchasing a shameful flight at the same price they would have paid for a glorious victory. The thing I fear most is fear. Moreover, it exceeds all other disorders in intensity. What anger could be more bitter and more just than that of Pompey's friends, who were in his ship spectators of that horrible massacre? Yet their fear of the Egyptian sails, which were beginning to approach them, stifled this feeling, so that commentators have noted that they did nothing but spur the sailors to make haste and escape by plying their oars until, having arrived at Tyre, freed from fear, they had a chance to turn their thoughts to the loss they had just suffered and to give free rein to the lamentations and tears that this other, stronger passion had suspended. Then fear drives out all wisdom from my mind. Those who have been well drubbed in some battle, and who are still all wounded and bloody, you can perfectly well bring them back to the charge the next day. Those who have conceived a healthy fear of the enemy, you would never get them to look him in the face. Those who are in pressing fear of losing their property, of being exiled, of being subjugated, live in constant anguish, losing even the capacity to drink, eat, and rest, whereas the poor, the exiles, and the slaves often live as joyfully as other men. And so many people who, unable to endure the pangs of fear, have hanged themselves, drowned themselves, or leaped to their death, have taught us well that fear is even more unwelcome and unbearable than death itself. The Greeks recognize another kind of fear, which comes, they say, not from any failure of our reason, but without any apparent cause and by divine impulsion. Whole peoples are often seen to be seized by it, and whole armies. Such was the fear which brought incredible desolation upon Carthage. You heard nothing more there, but you heard nothing there but frightened cries and exclamations. He saw the inhabitants running out of their houses as at a call to arms, and charging, wounding, and killing each other, as if they were enemies coming to occupy their city. Everything there was in disorder and tumult, until by prayers and sacrifices they had appeased the anger of the gods. They call these panic terrors.